The life of Holy Mother is a great spiritual miracle of modern times. A lady who lived almost all her life in the village settings and yet became the guiding light for the modern people. It is wonderful to see how the various aspects of practical spirituality, and not sitting somewhere in the ivory tower and practicing meditation, but working day to day all the chores that one is supposed to do, surrounded by all different types of people and relatives, and also the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna. It is a very complex life, really. Not easy at all to understand, but very easy to get connected to. Speaking is difficult, you know. When you are told to speak about your mother, it won't be very easy. So many emotions will come forward, but yet you can see connecting to mother is very easy. So this is where we see the spiritual connectivity through Holy Mother with everyone. So today we will begin the symposium with Sheila speaking about Sri Ramakrishna and her relationship, that divine relationship with Holy Mother. Sheila, please.
Namaste, everyone. As Swamiji mentioned, he asked me to speak on the topic of the divine and special relationship of the Holy Mother and Sri Ramakrishna Dev. So first, I'd like to take a couple minutes to help us really understand the story of their relationship before we attempt to understand the nature of their relationship and what we can learn from it and how we can apply those lessons to our daily lives. In the Gospel of the Holy Mother, there's a beautiful description of the story of the relationship between the Holy Mother and the Master. At the time that Sri Ramakrishna Dev and the Holy Mother were married, child marriage was the custom, and so at that time Sri Sharda Devi was only 5 years old. Sri Ramakrishna had entered into the early phase of his spiritual adventure at the time, and his relatives thought that marriage would have a settling and stabilizing effect on him, as he had at that point lost all interest in worldly affairs. But their search was in vain, and they became increasingly frustrated and anxious. That is, until Sri Ramakrishna, or Gadadhar as he was known at that time, came to the rescue himself. His relatives had intended to keep the search for a wife for him as a secret from him, expecting protests and dissatisfaction as he continued to lose interest in the worldly and material things around him. But in ecstatic mood, Gadadhar declared, "Why are you searching for a bride here and there? She who is marked for me is awaiting at the house of Ramachandra Mukherjee in Jairambati." After the marriage, Sri Sharda Devi had many opportunities to meet Sri Ramakrishna Dev for a few days, when she was 7, and then 13, and then 14. But it was not until she was finally 18 years old that she had a really meaningful meeting with him. She had been hearing the rampant village rumors regarding Sri Ramakrishna Dev's mental condition and felt very upset about hearing this. She felt a duty to be by his side and to serve him, being that he was her husband. Thus she left for Dakshineshwar, where Sri Ramakrishna Dev was, with her father, under the guise of going on a pilgrimage to the Ganga. At the time, Sri Ramakrishna had been experiencing an intense longing for God, and his spirit of renunciation really centered around the renunciation of women and gold. Knowing this, some might have expected him to reject Sharda Devi and disregard her upon her visit to him. But his response was quite as unexpected as his response to the prospect of marrying her. He extended to her a very warm welcome when she arrived, and made arrangements for her stay, and for her to receive treatment for the illness that she had experienced on her arrival. This occurred in March of 1872, and from then on, the Holy Mother was by Sri Ramakrishna Dev's side until 1886, when death physically separated them. So from this, immediately, we can understand that Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Sharda Devi's relationship was very unique. It was divine, truly, unlike no other. They were ordained to be spiritual companions, and so grew together on that path, setting up a beautiful example for us to learn from as devotees. From the time that Sri Ramakrishna went to stay with, from the time that the Holy Mother went to stay with Sri Ramakrishna, this marked the start of a very important period of training and discipleship for the Mother. Although we often tend to think of Swami Vivekananda as the first and foremost disciple and devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, it was truly the Mother who was the first and foremost disciple of Sri Ramakrishna Dev. The Mother lived in extremely humble and cramped quarters in the Nahabat, and she took part in the rigorous disciplines of meditation and japa multiple times a day. She never complained, but performed her work dutifully and faithfully in service of Sri Ramakrishna. She spent the day cooking enormous amounts of food for Sri Ramakrishna Dev and his visitors and disciples, cleaned his quarters, took care of the laundry, and did various other household and secular tasks which Sri Ramakrishna Dev had patiently taught her how to perform. She once said to her niece Nalini, "What a lot of work I did when I was of your age. And yet I could find time to repeat my mantra 100,000 times a day." This one thought from the Holy Mother carries such a weighty lesson for us all. The Mother accepted her duties calmly and peacefully as part of a greater working and organization in Sri Ramakrishna Dev's mission, all the while thinking of God and higher spiritual thoughts. Although she could have complained about the state of her living condition or the back-breaking work she performed, she instead naturally performed them lovingly and compassionately, always keeping in mind the greater spiritual goal which she shared with Sri Ramakrishna Dev. She was so busy, and he received so many visitors that she would occasionally go for months without seeing him, and few people ever saw her on the grounds. And yet she would remind herself that she was on this spiritual path with Sri Ramakrishna Dev, and that she, like everyone else, had to work to gain the darshan of seeing him and spending some time with him. This truly made her the ultimate disciple. One of Sri Ramakrishna Dev's teachings to the Mother stuck out to me as particularly insightful. For Sri Ramakrishna and Sri Sharda Devi's simplicity in living and their interactions with others, one may not have expected them to have developed philosophies on socializing with others or how to associate with others properly. And yet Sri Ramakrishna Dev had wisely instructed the Mother as such. The secret of one's success in social relationships depends entirely on one's capacity to adjust one's conduct according to the time, place, circumstances, and the nature of the people that one has to deal with. Physically, everyone is made of flesh and bones, but the substance within is constituted in entirely different ways. So one should be very careful in selecting one's friends and associates. These few moments of spiritual guidance and discipline in Holy Mother's life have rarely been recounted, and thus we have little record of the Master's spiritual guidance and instructions to her. She also seldom spoke on this subject to other people. But from the few observations of other disciples and the stories that she shared with others, we know that the Master's teachings had a profound impact on her mind and, of course, in her life. Once she recounted to a disciple how she would rise at 3 a.m. and sit in meditation. "Ah, the ecstasy of those days," she said. "If one is steady in meditation, one will clearly see the Lord in one's heart and hear his voice. The moment an idea flashes in the mind of such a one, it will be fulfilled then and there. You will be bathed in peace. In the fullness of one's spiritual realization, one will find that he who resides in one's heart resides in the heart of others as well, the oppressed, the persecuted, the untouchable, and the outcast. This realization truly makes one humble." Like this story, there are a few others that give us a glimpse into the Mother's experiences, allowing us to see that she too attained to the exalted states of spiritual consciousness that we so often think of the Master as achieving. But due to her humble and unassuming nature, she rarely recounted these experiences to others out of her humility. By careful education, the master ensured that the Holy Mother was efficient in both spiritual and secular matters. In this way, he helped to make her a true Sahadharmini, a fellow seeker in the quest for the higher ideals in life. This was a reflection of the Vedic ideal of the Pativrata, according to which a man and a woman are fused into a common ideal and purpose in life. The Gospel says, "The man and the woman, brought together as husband and wife, are like the two wheels of a vehicle moving together on a common track towards a common idea." Dharma is that path of higher evolution, and the discharge of one's social and spiritual duties in the scripture-ordained way is the way of progress along it. Thus it was the beautifully complementary nature of their characters, of Sri Ramakrishna and the Holy Mother, that they have become the perfect ideals of both the married state and the monastic values for us to follow. This is truly a gift to us as devotees, as I see it, as it is so rare to have an ideal for both householders and ascetics alike in the way of life and spiritual devotion. The Mother and the Master taught us the greatest lessons and showed us the way through spiritual evolution by demonstrating in their own lives how the highest spiritual goal can be achieved through teamwork. The Shodashi Puja was a momentous occasion and a true landmark in both Sri Ramakrishna Dev and Holy Mother's lives in spiritual evolution. It occurred during the course of the year between 1872 to 1873, when the Holy Mother made her first visit to Dakshineshwar. During this time, on the night of the Kali Puja day, when the Divine Mother is worshipped, the Master made arrangements for the puja to be held in his room and requested Sharda Devi's presence. After he began the first rites of the puja, he invited the Holy Mother to be seated on the seat for the deity. He then invoked the presence of the Divine Mother within her with the prayer. He continued through the entire ritualistic worship with 16 ingredients. The description of the puja reads, "In the course of the puja, he applied a red paint to the soles of Sri Sharda Devi, put a vermilion mark on her forehead, and put on her a new cloth, put a little bit of sweets and betla leaf in her mouth, and performed the arati before her." The shy, compassionate Sharda Devi received all these acts of adoration without the least feeling of hesitation. The sense of the deity came upon her, and both the Master and the Mother were in a state of ecstatic and semi-conscious absorption in the course of the worship. By the time it came to an end, they were both in complete samadhi, in which the worshipper and the worshipped have realized the identity of their beings as existence, knowledge, bliss absolute. The significance of this event in their lives is enormous. For Sri Ramakrishna, it signified the final triumph of the spirit over the body and the recognition of divinity in all. It marked his establishment in the state of divinity. And in Sri Sharda Devi's life, the invocation of the Divine Mother by Sri Ramakrishna into her being, and that he worshipped her as such, elevated her in truth from Sharda, the daughter of Ramachandra, to Sri Sharda Devi, the Holy Mother, the eternal Mother of the universe, for all humanity to worship. It cemented their perfect partnership in the spiritual realm and made her a vital part of Sri Ramakrishna's mission. From then on, just as in the Master's case, her body and mind became the venue of expression for that energy. As I mentioned earlier, Sri Ramakrishna Dev's renunciation of Kamini and Kanchana, lust and gold, might make you think that he would have been a lonely, cold ascetic. However, the way in which the Master treated the Mother as his first disciple with such care, love, and respect lifted their married life above the level of base attraction and made it a potent spiritual relationship. He showed the highest consideration for her. He saved and set aside money for her to subsist on, even after he passed away. He spent 300 rupees to have a pair of bangles made for her after having a vision of Sita wearing a pair of bracelets with many facets. He once accidentally referred to the Holy Mother with an informal reference as Tui, thinking that she was his niece. As soon as he discovered that it was in fact the Holy Mother to whom he was referring, he begged for her forgiveness, telling her he felt so bad that he had spoken to her so rudely. despite her numerous attempts to tell him that she did not mind him speaking to her informally. Referring to this incident later on, she often said, "I was married to a husband who never addressed me as Thui. Ah, how he treated me! Not even once did he tell me a harsh word or wound my feelings. He did not even strike me with a bunch of flowers." One time, Sri Sharda Devi's own mother lamented, "My Sharda is married to an ascetic. She will never know the happiness of being addressed as mother." The master, who heard this comment, replied, "Your daughter will have so many children that she will be tired of being addressed day and night as mother." And millions indeed, even today, are her spiritual sons and daughter, including us today. So what can we learn from the Holy Mother and Sri Ramakrishna and their relationship? We can understand that God realization is possible and doable whether we are householders or whether we have chosen an ascetic life. We can find spiritual partners in those around us, those whom we hold near and dear to us. We can elevate one another and uplift each other spiritually for the common goal that we hold the highest. Sri Ramakrishna Dev and Sri Sharda Devi's relationship is an example of something truly special and divine that uplifted each of them on their spiritual path and uplifted their relationship together to a higher plane. It is not something that is truly well known about the mother, but understanding their relationship really tells the beautiful story of their relationship and helps us to understand the incredible, loving, and patient nature of the Holy Mother and how she truly came to embody compassion and the identity of Universal Mother. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Sheila. That was just to say allegorically the first aspect of Holy Mother, to absorb from Sri Ramakrishna. The second aspect was to release and give to everybody. Sri Ramakrishna told almost in his last days in physical body that, look, pointing to his own body, what have this done? Nothing, you have to do much more. And when Holy Mother protested that I am a mere ordinary woman, what can I do? He did not accept that. He said, no, in time to come, hundreds and hundreds of people will be coming, flocking around you. And that is what happened. And the representation of that comes, when you see the relation of Holy Mother to the foremost disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda, through whom Sri Ramakrishna's message spread everywhere, who was like the trumpet voice, just broadcasting the message of Sri Ramakrishna worldwide. Now how Holy Mother gets connected to Swami Vivekananda, we will hear from Patricia Blake.
Swamiji, friends, today we gather in love and gratitude for Holy Mother's birthday celebration. All of us who have been coming to Vedanta for a while are well versed in the relationship between Holy Mother and her beloved husband and guru, Sri Ramakrishna. And thank you, Sheila, for sharing your lovely thoughts on their relationship. And Narendra, later to be known to the world as Swami Vivekananda. Even before meeting Narendra, Sri Ramakrishna had seen him in a vision as a sage, deep in meditation on the Absolute, and at Sri Ramakrishna's request, had agreed to take human birth to assist him with his mission. But what about the relationship between Holy Mother and Swami Vivekananda? How did these two precious gems of Sri Ramakrishna regard one another? This evening I will be speaking on this extraordinary relationship between Holy Mother and Sri Swami Vivekananda. Holy Mother would often praise Swami Vivekananda's renunciation and devotion. Quote, "Naren is of divine origin, full of purity from his infancy. He is in a class apart, like an unsheathed sword." End of quote. Swami Vivekananda tells us of what he told Holy Mother about herself. Quote, "Mother, hundreds of Vivekanandas may appear in the future by your blessings, but there can only be one mother like you in this world." End of quote. This passage clearly tells us that Swami Vivekananda regards Sri Sarada Devi much more than just his guru's wife. A very important point for us to reflect upon for our own sadhana concerning Holy Mother. Holy Mother was very successful at keeping her real nature hidden. Although she was a manifestation of the Divine Mother, she hid her divinity under the guise of simplicity and humility. As the Divine Mother conceals herself with the veil of Yoga Maya, so did Holy Mother keep herself veiled, carrying on the duties of daily life, living among us as one of us. Sri Ramakrishna once jokingly described her as a cat hidden under ashes. Swami Vivekananda tells us with heartfelt conviction, quote, "You have not yet understood the wonderful significance of Holy Mother's life. None of you. But gradually, you will know. Without Shakti, there is no regeneration for the world. Holy Mother has been born to revive this wonderful Shakti in India, making her the nucleus. Once more will the Gargis and Maitris be born in the world. Dear brother, you understand little now, but by degrees you will come to know all. Hence it is her moth that I want first. Without the grace of Shakti, nothing is to be accomplished. What do I find in America and Europe? The worship of Shakti, the worship of power. Yet they worship her ignorantly through sense gratification. Imagine then what a lot of good they will achieve who will worship her with all purity and a sattvika spirit, looking upon her as their mother. I am coming to understand things clearer every day. My insight is coming out more and more. Hence, we must first build a moth. First mother and her daughters, then father and his sons. Can you understand this? To me, mother's grace is 100,000 times more valuable than father's. Mother's grace, mother's blessings are all paramount to me. End of quote. Once, Sri Ramakrishna's nephew was escorting Holy Mother when he suddenly stopped. He would proceed no further until Holy Mother revealed her true identity. Holy Mother told him that she was the goddess Kali. And another instance, after being harassed to the brim, Holy Mother warned her sister-in-law, also known to others as the Mad Aunt, that if she ever got angry, not even Brahman, Vishnu, or Shiva would be able to save her. Understanding without a doubt the divinity of Holy Mother, each time Swami Vivekananda was to meet with Holy Mother, he would wash himself repeatedly with Ganges water to purify himself. Also, he would always salute her by prostrating full length on the ground before undertaking any important work. After the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda organized the Ramakrishna Math in mission. Holy Mother held no official position, but she was the mother of the whole organization. When Swami Vivekananda first thought of a math, Holy Mother told him, quote, "Do not worry. What you are doing now, what you will do in the future, will be permanent. You were born to accomplish this work. Thousands of people will hail you as a world teacher, a bestower of divine knowledge. I can assure you that the Master will fulfill your desire in no time. You will soon see the work you want to undertake will be accomplished." End of quote. Any doubts, difficulties, or problems that would arise, she was the final answer to everything. Swami Vivekananda has said of his monastic brothers, quote, that with all their spiritual struggles and with the attainment of samadhi, the highest truth, whenever there would be any subtle problems in spiritual life that they could not answer, Holy Mother, in her simple way, would dissolve all doubts and bring the solution. It is a miracle how that simple country woman knows everything. End of quote. Once, Swami Vivekananda fired a servant because he stole something. He went to Holy Mother's house in Kolkata and explained his side of the story. Holy Mother had him return to his post. Holy Mother said, quote, that monks and servants could not be judged by the same moral standards. End of quote. And regarding how Swami Vivekananda came to America, Holy Mother had the final say. Swami Vivekananda had the vision of the Master, Sri Ramakrishna, who wanted him to go to America. Swami Vivekananda thought, quote, I must corroborate this vision. And who can corroborate it? Quote. He went to Holy Mother without saying anything about the vision. He simply asked her permission, would she permit him to go to America to preach? Holy Mother's answer was, no. He is such a young boy to be in a foreign country. Later, Holy Mother was about to write to Swami Vivekananda about her answer, when Sri Ramakrishna, in a vision, came, held her arm, and said, no, ask him to go. Holy Mother then blessed Swami Vivekananda and encouraged him to go to America. She said, quote, the Master is always with you. You have many more things to accomplish for the welfare of the world. The Master is not different from the one whom he called Mother. It is the Master who accomplished all this work through you. You are his chosen child and disciple. How dearly he loved you. He foretold that you would teach men. End of quote. Later, sending word from America to the monastic brothers, Swami Vivekananda urged them to renounce everything in the service of God and man. The monastic brothers had doubts about this request, but Holy Mother removed their doubts by saying, quote, Naren is an instrument of the Master. It is the Master who writes, through Naren, about the future duties of his children and devotees for the good of the world. What he has written is all correct. You will see it bearing fruit in the course of time. End of quote. She had also said of Swami Vivekananda, though fully imbued with the spirit of renunciation and an all-embracing love, and immersed in the eternal joy of communion with the infinite. He has been suffering for the good of others. He gave his lifeblood to the service of others. He was specially brought by the Master for preaching his lofty ideals, for the elevating of the masses, and for the good of humanity. End of quote. Recently, I was at the La Salette Shrine in Attleboro for the Christmas season. There is a room there dedicated to the sacred art in the form of symbolic paintings called icons, with Jesus, Mother Mary, and the Christian saints. They can only be painted by monks, and these icons are meditated upon or to assist in prayer. There was one particular icon that attracted my attention. It was of Mother Mary and the infant Jesus. It is called the One Breath. Mother Mary's head is tilted to one side facing down, looking very closely at infant Jesus, their nose slightly touching. This creates the image they are connected by one breath. Mother and child are surrendered to one another to fulfill the spiritual work of God, the Father. And in the case of Holy Mother and her monastic son, Swami Vivekananda, they have also become the one breath, surrendering to one another to fulfill the spiritual work of Sri Ramakrishna for us and the world. Let us, like Swami Vivekananda, surrender to Holy Mother, heart and mind, opening the door to her true divine motherhood, and being transformed by her eternal love. In conclusion, I would like to end with a quote from Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. Thank you.
Thanks, dear Patricia. Holy Mother's life has always been an enigma, so to say. The tremendous power that it has, and its release or its touch in a very mysterious way is felt by millions of devotees. Initially it appears that what is there in her life, just respecting her as wife of Sri Ramakrishna, who was a spiritual genius, a divine incarnation. And let us respect Holy Mother also, like being his wife. And actually, even while many of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna were in body, one devotee asked Swami Sardananda this question, that really what is there in Holy Mother's life? I understand, I respect her as a wife of Sri Ramakrishna, but in Sri Ramakrishna we see that going into that divine ecstasy and then teaching to so many disciples, telling them about spiritual life. In Holy Mother, do we see anything like that? Sri Ramakrishna I understand as incarnation of God, but what about Holy Mother? Then Sardananda, Swami Sardananda, he explained to him with a question. First is that if you believe Sri Ramakrishna as an incarnation of God, Do you think he just married somebody in a village? They village women, they pick up the cow dung and make the cakes out of it, cow dung cakes for burning. So was she only a girl like that that Sri Ramakrishna married? If Sri Ramakrishna is the divine incarnation, then Holy Mother also, don't you think, is of that stature? In appearance it was very deceptive, but Sri Ramakrishna knew very, very well. And so uh, later on we see that all the spiritual wealth got distributed through Holy Mother. A very beautiful expression I heard when a nice book that we read here in the evenings, Sri Sarda Devi, the Great Wonder. It said there that Holy Mother was the supply base of Sri Ramakrishna for distributing the spiritual wealth. It was all stored there. And then from there, the things were all distributed as per need to various spiritual seekers. They connecting to Sri Ramakrishna's disciples was not as such very difficult, but nobody could really understand her glory to begin with. In fact, as has been nicely described by Pat, that Swami Vivekananda also initially found it very difficult to understand the spiritual glory. His letters are witness to that. The letters that he wrote from West about Holy Mother. The first mention of that, the letter written to his many direct disciples, that look, none of you till now has understood the great glory represented by Holy Mother. By her grace I have been able to understand just a little bit of it. And he goes on telling more and more about that. And so she was, as the time went on, it proved that she was the guiding force for the whole order of monks and devotees who took up this ideal represented by Sri Ramakrishna's life. Sri Ramakrishna's life has one central message, that experiencing God or realizing God is the only goal of human life. A great statement that was exemplified in his life and very clearly, unambiguously stated in various ways. And so now, if that is the goal, how do we all achieve that goal? Sri Ramakrishna has told the path also. Now that path has to actually get exhibited, actually get working in hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people around. And how is that going to happen? Like the power generator, a big power plant is somewhere. How the power gets distributed to, households, like we are getting all this electric power here. The power production is happening somewhere maybe 1,000 miles away, who knows. But through the various, connections through different grids and all, the power comes to us in the required voltage, required amount, so that our homes get illumined. So Sri Ramakrishna was that kind of a powerhouse. And Holy Mother was like just to understand, Holy Mother was that kind of distributing mechanism. The cables and the grades and so forth, that distributing mechanism by which that power, in a way that will be convenient for people to apply, to use. Holy Mother became that distributing unit for this spiritual power, and thus we can get it. Swami Vivekananda was like the appliances which shine with that electricity. So it is like that we see the tremendous influence of Holy Mother coming to our life. Anybody, who comes in contact with Holy Mother through her biography, through her teachings, even through meditation on her, will find that illumination. It comes slowly but unmistakably. There is no doubt about it, friends. You will never feel that it is coming to you, but it comes. Like some medications, silently they keep on their curative process going on. One even many times doesn't know that one is taking the medication, and yet the effect keeps on going on at a subtle level. So Holy Mother's life is like that. Holy Mother is the force like that. And on the one hand, today we heard how she is connected to Sri Ramakrishna, the powerhouse. And on the other hand, she is connected to Vivekananda. The wire structure, the distributing this thing, mechanism has to be connected on one end to the power generators and on the other hand to the appliances. So, Holy Mother is connected to Vivekananda and to Sri Ramakrishna in such a way that we all derive the wonderful benefit of that unspeakably great life. It is on this auspicious occasion we can say that by reading various books on her life, simple reminiscences, that how she would initiate hundreds and thousands of people and pray for them, meditate for them, do the mantra repetition for them. It is just amazing. She was giving initiation to everyone, and in a tone of kind of mock complaint, she said once about Sri Ramakrishna, "Look, Sri Ramakrishna, how selective he was about his disciples. He chose just gems of characters as disciples, and to me he has sent all like an army of ants." Because anybody would go to Holy Mother and pray and seek spiritual initiation, and Holy Mother will not refuse. Even the disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, they would give initiation to those whom they thought that yes, a very good spiritually vibrant material is there. They would initiate. Others they would tell, "Oh, now you go to Holy Mother." Brahmananda, Swami Brahmananda mentioned this, that poison which we couldn't digest, we passed it on to Holy Mother. And Holy Mother, through her tremendous compassion, just swallowed it. That was Holy Mother. And she said about that too, that look, the children, what nice gifts they gave to their parents. But here, these children, what gift are they giving me? All this poison. So, and it was true, but Holy Mother was that kind of a base, that kind of a machine which could take in the poison and convert it into nectar. That was that great ability. She insisted on spiritual practice. At the same time, she was tremendously compassionate too. You can read, I just give two examples. To many devotees, she would say, well, do regular meditations. You have to do it regularly. If you don't do, well, you lose. I don't care what happens to me, nothing. Uh, uh, I was blessed by the teacher who was disciple of Holy Mother. And he used to tell us that what will happen if we take initiation, but if we do not do spiritual practice. He would say, what happens if you go to the doctor, take the prescription and don't take the medicine, what happens? The doctor doesn't lose anything, it is you who lose. So similarly, if you don't practice, it is you who lose, not I. So Holy Mother would say that. But the motherly nature is there. The care for the children is there. So she would keep on meditating and doing mantra. And once at night, one of her attendants saw that she is still meditating, she is not sleeping, she is lying down and still not asleep. And he asked, what is happening? Are you not getting sleep? She said that I am doing mantra. Look, so many come and take initiation. Do nothing. So on their behalf, how can I leave them alone? So on their behalf, I keep on doing japam, repetition of mantra. On their behalf, I am doing. So also she would say that I remember all disciples, whomsoever I remember, I tell Sri Ramakrishna, taking their name, that please look after them. And about those whose name I do not remember, I tell them that, Master, I cannot remember the names of so many other disciples, but please look after them. So there is this consideration, this motherly connection, a loving kindness and care is there, along with this strictness of a spiritual master. A great mother who would be, on the one hand, very strict with the children, at the same time very compassionate too. So, with these words, I conclude, thanking today's wonderful speakers for giving their presentations, and thanking you all for attending this symposium.